I'm Trinity from trinityskitchen.com, and I've actually been eating a conscientious, compassionate vegan diet for 20 years now. So, in the early days, it was a bit of a mission of mine to show people who ate any kind of food how delicious and tasty healthy vegan food can be. And a lot of people found that they'd feel a lot better, and then it would encourage them to explore and dig a little bit deeper and make some really positive changes to their lifestyle. So this is actually the very first video that I'm gonna create, and I've decided, since I've been requested for it quite a lot, to begin with raw vegan chocolate, because most people love chocolate and a lot of people think it might be complex to make, but really it's absolutely easy when you know how. So I felt that it would be quite useful for those of us who do enjoy a little bit of really conscious chocolate every now and again to create this video with some tips and hints. So let's go. So I like to weigh everything with scales or use tablespoons and teaspoons, but I'm going to try and do this today in a way that is sort of universal. So I'm going to try and use tablespoons. I need two different types of tablespoons. This is one that I've bought in a kitchen store. This is one that I've had kicking around my kitchen for, since forever. With these recipes, you can, play a little. It doesn't have to be exact, so I encourage you just to go with what feels right. So what we need to start with is 50 grams of cacao butter. Now your cacao butter might come in a pot and look something like this. So it usually comes solidified in a block unless you live in a really hot country. So I don't. No, we live in England and it's pretty cold here a lot of the year round. So I've weighed about 50 grams of cacao butter, and there's a little bit of an art to chopping cacao butter. I would advise that you really stay present with this. You need a really sharp knife, and you can kind of, let's get this the right angle, you can kind of shave off the cacao butter and just keep turning it around, and you're going to end up maybe with a little bit of a chunk at the end. Just really taking care with the knife, and you see you get these really nice shaved kind of pieces that are going to melt, because we're going to have to melt the cacao butter in a minute to make the chocolate. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting it into a Pyrex dish. So this is an oven-proof, heat-proof dish. And you can buy these at any good kitchen store. You can buy them all over the place, actually. And it can withstand really hot temperatures. So we need to melt this cacao butter. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I've learned for doing it. If it's in the depths of winter and you have a wood burning stove or a heat source somewhere, you can just pop it on the top of that stove, and over a period of time the butter will melt and turn into a liquid. So when it's winter, this is my preferred method of doing it. But right now I'm going to use a trick that my mum taught me when I was a little girl, when we used to melt chocolate to make Rice Krispie cakes. So what I need now is a pan with about 2 centimeters or an inch of water in it, and I'm gonna turn on the heat. Nice gentle heat, and we don't need to cook it to death, we just want to melt it. And then I'm just gonna place the Pyrex bowl in. And then I'm just going to let that gently do its thing. It might take 5 minutes to melt. This is a apparently quite low on the glycemic index, so it makes it a really good alternative to sugar. It's actually the nectar from the flower of a coconut tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place 3 level tablespoons into here, and that begins to dissolve the coconut nectar, the coconut sugar, in the pan, and you can just see how that's beginning to melt. So that process only probably takes about 5 minutes on a gentle heat, and we only want to just melt it. We don't want to kind of melt it to death. We just want to melt it, and then it'll preserve the rawness of it. So I'm going to actually turn off this heat even before it's finished, and I'm just going to allow it to keep gently melting in the warmth from the water. And the water isn't actually even boiling yet, it's just raised the temperature, and that temperature transfers through the glass, and it's just beginning to melt. So while we're waiting for the chocolate cacao butter to melt, let me introduce these molds to you. Now, I've found this really cool, squishy, soft, made out of silicone ice cube tray. But I think it's a great thing to use for chocolates, and you can just sort of pop them out when it's done. And I bought this purpose-made chocolate tray, which gives you these really professional looking square shapes if you just want to be really posh about it. But a lot of the time I don't even use any of these. I just get a regular container, lay a bit of parchment paper in the bottom, and then I just get these chocolate bars, just flat, plain, but delicious, and you can just kind of snap them off and you get this whole rustic thing going on. So it's absolutely up to you, but you don't have to get fancy equipment. I didn't start off with that. I just, you know, when I started making them more and more for other people and presents and gifts, I just thought that would be a fun thing to do. So I imagine that that's kind of melted now. Okay. Wow. It's just about melted. You can just see a teeny bit of cacao butter there, and you can just, oh, it's melted already. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the cacao powder into, yeah, it can go all over the place. And I'm just going to stir it in gently. And remembering all the time just to be really conscious and really present with what you're doing, you know, because everything we do carries energy. And, you know, if we make our food consciously, caring, and just add a little sprinkle of love every now and again, then it really does taste better. And because it's warmed up a little bit, I'm just going to let it cool down just a little bit. If you leave it too long, it's just going to set and go really hard. But just to prevent all the sugar from sinking to the bottom. Right now, as you see, this is really plain chocolate. Now, the wonderful, exciting, and amazing thing that you can do with chocolate is you can add all kinds of other delicious goodies into it. You know, some people put goji berries in, or cacao nibs. I like to put raisins and coconut in it, and or little bits of fruit and nuts. So if you want just plain chocolate, just add like a little touch of vanilla to the recipe. Just give it a stir. Now I am going to add coconut into this mix. So here we go, just a sprinkle. You don't have to measure it. It's not rocket science. It doesn't have to be perfect. So what I'm going to do now is take my tray. So I just take a heaped teaspoon and just lovingly put it in each little case. You know, and if it spills over the edges a little bit, that's fine. You know, this can really get a little bit messy when you do this, but that's part of the fun. So what I'm going to do now, because the mold is actually really like flexible and flimsy, I'm just going to get a really small board, and I'm just going to pop the tray on the board, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go put this in either the freezer or the fridge just if it's the freezer, you can probably have your chocolates within 15 minutes. If it's the fridge, maybe give it a half an hour just to let them really set. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I'm just gonna let them set in the fridge for a little while, and you know, I'm just gonna clean up here. You need hot water to clean this equipment, because if you put cold water on your melted chocolate, it'll really go hard. In our house, you know, I like to offer it out. It's a lot easier if someone actually licks out the bowl, and it's a lot easier to clean if someone does that. So, you know, feel free. So you've been really patient, and now for our little taste test. There's normally a whole bunch of people here who'd be really happy to taste test for me, but as it seems at the moment everyone's gone out, so it's just us. So let's see. Okay, here goes. That is so good. I wish I could share some with you, but you'll just have to go make your own. So thanks for tuning in, and you know, if you resonate with this, please feel free to send me some feedback. Feel free to share the video with friends and family, and you know, if you make some, feel free to pop by and just drop me some in, and I'd be really happy to taste it for you. And go visit my website if you want more recipes. I'm constantly updating with new vegan, wheat-free, lots of gluten-free, sugar-free, really tasty, delicious recipes. And I've just started a new section about growing your own and all the beneficial properties of things like herbs and different foods. So tune in, and I really look forward to our next adventure together in the kitchen. Okay,